Good afternoon and welcome to the Alathus Realty Studios here in downtown Russellville. I'm joined today with Brad Neiman and our guest today, Mr. Nolan Edwards. He's been a client of the firm for a number of years now. Great guy, local guy, knows all about the River Valley and has interesting stories to tell. Welcome, Nolan.
Glad to be here.
I want to know a little bit more about downtown. Because you mentioned being involved in media for a short period of time. Of course, you worked out at the nuclear plant, and then you spent some time downtown. You've got some interest in the Latimore House. So let's just cover.
Yeah, whatever you want to talk about, Nolan.
But I probably would just go ahead and talk about how I ended up in Russellville.
Yeah.
My mom and dad had a house at London on Round Mountain. My daddy was an avid fisherman, and no, I don't fish. That's because I've been drug out on the lake all hours. And so I ended up going to school at Tech, and lived out there, and then came to the dorm, and met my wife. She worked for the newspaper, and for a number of years, and then about 25 years into the experience and 3 kids, we ended up starting About the River Valley magazine. And basically, it was just time for her to do something different. She had parents in town, and she was taking care of parents, and it just gave better time management. And the magazine was about downtown, and it was really about Russellville, and it did really, really well. And so it was her thing. It started over a tier, and she'd been with the paper for a long time. She was a publisher and editor, she was an editor, and then she was a salesperson. A lot of people remember her. And but she had pretty much built downtown, and she had become the vice president of Main Street Russellville, which I definitely support building a downtown thing, because I truly believe a town that ever loses its identity of its main street will lose its identity. I mean, sure, it's great to have businesses, but you need a central core, a focal place. And I became involved in Main Street, washed a bunch of dishes, did a lot of events, supported the conductor project, supported building the Depot Park. Main Street originally owned Main Street Russellville, which is kind of operated by the city, but it's its own 501c. It bought a piece of property and was basically trying to provide a place downtown, but we needed to take it to the next step. And the next step was to develop that piece of property into something that Russellville could use. So I was a part of the board at the time that we turned that piece of property over to the city, and the city matched it and did the funds to go do the Depot Park, because we really didn't have a courthouse step to go do anything. Right. I mean, and it was to be a common place to go do movies, to go do talks, their major fundraisers. We needed a piece of real estate, and it really worked out. Main Street Russellville still does 2 fundraisers. What is it, the Chili Festival? I don't know what
the Fall Fest.
Fall Fest. The last 2 years has pretty much taken a bump on its nose, just like everything else for COVID. But I think it'll be back. The whole town's full, and if you ever go to a good Fall Fest, there's people everywhere, not a place to walk.
We did that last year, and I was amazed at the people that came out.
Yeah. I've had the privilege of cooking chili. Had a lot of fun doing it. Spent a lot of money doing it.
Yeah, we called you for advice on how we almost won.
I can say that too. And I probably should have gave you the winning apron.
We needed something.
Yeah, just a little bit to push you over the edge. It's a little tough. Cooking chili for people and cooking chili for competition, something else.
Yep.
But I've eaten a lot of chili. I've judged a lot of chili. I've judged a lot of pies. Yeah, but I'm really into Main Street as a whole. I'm definitely into the art walk. I like what Russellville has turned into. Main Street Russellville did, man, I lose track of time, did a bond or like a project to provide the downtown merchants
Yeah,
with money to go rehab their buildings.
Yep, I remember when that happened.
Yeah, and I was part of that selection process, who gets what money when, and I with Betsy McGuire,
Yep.
had the privilege of going through all of that and doing all that the right way. Not that it goes to special people, that their projects are judged and it's all documented. That was one of my things. The legal world gets so funky, especially when you start messing with state money, and
Yeah.
because it was all state money. You need to make sure you had a clean slate when it's all said and done, because there's so many rules that you're not aware of. And I was vice president for a while. I decided to step down out of that. I picked up the tender that was Diane's and I did that, and I really thought I wanted to go do Main Street, but I decided that I was going to go do some other stuff and kind of get my life back together after I lost her. And that's where it is. The Latimore House you talked about.
Yeah.
I met Jane, and she's one of what I call the barnstormers. She started telling me about this. I eat at Stobie's all the time. That's the only place I eat. But and she was telling me about this project in this book, and I met Jane just because she ate at Stobie's too, and she was telling me about this story, and I was totally fascinated. Then she started telling me about the Latimore House, and that they were raising money to move it, and they wanted to rehab it. And she says, "Do you want in?" And I was going, "Do I want in?" But and she goes, "Well, I don't know if I really want in." I said, "You're going to have to convince me." And she sat down at the table with me, and she told me this story, and I said, "Okay, I'll do this." And I wrote her a check, and I was going, "Well, we'll just see where it goes." And then when it came time for tax season, I ended up at the other end. I got this beautiful thank you note, and I'm going, "This is a classy operation." I mean, and this is your receipt, and I'm going, "Man, somebody's doing this right." And I'd love to see the Latimore House get a hold. Once again, it's about saving the identity of our town. I don't know a lot about it. I don't know where it sits, but it's definitely something that the community should back. And it's just like everything else, it needs money, and they have an organization together. I think Betsy McGuire is involved with it. She's pretty much she knows to go pull the strings, just like she did when she was working with Main Street. And then you have Jane, that pretty much is willing to go out and beat the pavement, and hopefully it'll end up being something that we can put in our envelope of things to keep, just like our Main Street. Our Main Street absolutely is gorgeous. If you come off of the overpass and you come into Russellville, it's fascinating. You come out of what I call the old historical piece. When you come back past the what is it? Is it the Mason House, the one on the corner, the doctor's house, where it starts, the
Yep.
historic district? And a lot of people don't even know that Russellville the downtown is actually historic. It is actually in the historic convention and the register, and all of that process it's pretty interesting. It makes it hard to go do some things, but anything worth having is a little bit of labor anyway.
And, talking about downtown being a historic district, being able to walk downtown around, you'll see several historic monument plates on the sides of buildings. talking about when the buildings were constructed, who owned them originally, and
When the
what's
fire
happened.
happened.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
And
Yeah,
most people don't realize 2/3 of Russellville burned down once.
Right.
it did.
As well as many little cities all over the
Right.
country. About in the 20s, Clarksville had a big fire too. I didn't realize that. And we moved back here in 2002, and it wasn't like that then.
No, it
And
wasn't like that.
I didn't know that you were instrumental in making it like
yeah.
it is today. So that's awesome.
And I'll really say Betsy was instrumental. I mean, she had 15 years and beating the streets and merchants and good or bad. One of the most interesting things about redeveloping the downtown is waiting for the people to change out. I mean,
Yep.
the attrition, either the kids want to reinvest or they just want out. I
Right.
mean, and they're the ones that end up holding, our heirs end up holding the buildings, and a lot of that's happened, and Russellville's burned like the old Leonard's building. I remember old Leonard's. I mean, I used to go dig through the bins for the cheapest nuts and bolts. They kind of got that straightened out now, but it was downtown, and I mean, it was just like a mercantile. I mean, look what was dangling over your head, just terrify you.
Yeah. They had no idea what they had then, just like they don't now. I'd hate to do inventory in Leonard's.
But you don't understand how much better it is, Brad. At least you can get to the right corner in the store. I mean,
And they're always happy to help.
Yeah.
I mean,
Oh,
and
yeah.
it's-
There's always somebody, and they know what's going on. That's the most impressive thing, and they know they do know where everything is.
they really do. And I've even been sent next door to the old Kroger building to say, yeah, it's in there somewhere. I don't think they'll let you go over there anymore. But yeah, Leonard's has always been part of Russellville. I actually remember Russellville when literally rolled up at 1 o'clock on Saturday.
Yep.
You couldn't buy anything. No, there was not a Walmart. There were places to eat: Hardee's, Whataburger, Dairy Queen, Old South, and Stobie's. I remember I ate at Stobie's the first day it opened. I mean,
Yep. I remember talking to Mr. Rush before he sold out, and he was telling me this was a dirt road when I started.
It was a dirt road when it started. Yeah.
Sure enough.
And there wasn't 2 lanes on Main Street either. I remember when they cut the trees down.
I was in college when they did that, and it was a mess. But it's
Yeah, I mean, there were people crying over the trees coming down. And
I remember.
And now they're as big as the ones they cut down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah. I got a good friend that took over Peter's Family Living, Doug Williams.
Doug. I
And
know Doug.
They were cleaning out everything when he started there when we were in college as a warehouse guy. Now he runs the joint, so it's pretty cool. But I don't know, 20 years ago or so, they were cleaning out some stuff, and they had taken in like mule saddles in trade for furniture back in the 40s.
Yeah,
Pretty cool.
absolutely. I mean, it was Flav and Bill. I mean, little Bill.
Yeah.
But and that's part of the things that you'll lose. You'll lose those identities for time, but as long as you keep them alive, they're still existing. That's why I live in Russellville. I mean, honestly, Russellville's 80 miles to two great cities, 100 miles if you really want to go to Northwest Arkansas. It's an hour and a half. I have kids that live everywhere, and I consider them the perfect distance away from me.
Right.
In fact, I was talking with my daughter this morning about it. I said, she's just too close.
They have to call before they come, make sure you're going to be there.
Yeah. And so, my parents lived in Dardanelle for a while. They lived over on Bay Ridge, and that was really interesting. I mean, that's a whole different community.
Yep.
I mean, you cross over the bridge. It's like going to a different world.
It's a free state of Yale.
It is definitely the free state of Yale.
Yep. And your dad was a clockmaker, wasn't
No, my current wife Jenny, her dad was.
Okay, he's the one. All right.
Yeah, he's a retired clockmaker in his 90s, but doesn't really do any work anymore. But his phone still rings from the guys that are fixing the clock. Say, "Hey Herb, how do you do this?"
Yeah, that's a dying art,
Yeah,
isn't it?
yeah. My house sounds like a bomb. I mean, there's things ticking and talking and banging and going on all hours of the night. My kids go and say, "How do you do it? Listen to that."
Like that first scene from Back to the Future.
Oh,
with all
yeah,
the clocks.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, Yeah.
And something else I remember in your house when you were young, you had like every medal or badge or whatever you could get from the
I still
Boy
have it.
Scouts.
I was an Eagle Scout. In fact, my scoutmaster died just this last year, and I was going, wow, you know, how one individual can change your life forever.
Yeah.
I mean, and actually Burkhalter, the guy that ran for lieutenant governor last time,
Yeah.
he was in my scout troop.
No kidding.
Yeah, and his dad was the first scoutmaster, and my mother was a den mother under. You know, I'm going, wow, you know, and that was in a whole different world. I mean, that was in Sylvan Hills and North Little Rock.
Yep.
Where I really knew where I'm from. Yeah, I've had a pretty good run in Arkansas. Born in California, ended up in Arkansas.
I didn't know you were from California.
I didn't know that either.
Born in La Puente, California, West Covina County.
No
Yeah.
kidding.
Yeah.
That's a pretty good place to be from nowadays.
Yeah, my mother was from Alabama, ended up in Alabama like everybody did in the 50s
Yep.
because there was all sorts of work. Ended up coming back to Arkansas, and my dad happened to open one of the very first freeway service stations in the state of Arkansas.
No kidding.
If you remember Freeway, they were part of Sunray DX, and as the gasoline business changed, he changed and became an area manager, and he lived in North Little Rock and drove over 5 or 6 states. Yeah, but then he ended up in Russellville when he retired on 20 acres over on Bay Ridge Road. Was lucky enough to be that guy that got to spend my Saturdays with my dad cleaning land and trying to kill myself on a John Deere or a Massey tractor.
Yeah, I did a bunch of that when I was young, and it doesn't seem like fun at the time, but when you look back.
Oh yeah, it was a bunch of sweat and tears.
Yep.
Sawbriars. I still hadn't figured out how I didn't get snake bit, but I didn't.
Over the last 10 years, we've really seen a lot of revitalization downtown. We've seen a lot of grant money come into town. We've seen a lot of investors, private investors, bringing mixed use back downtown. So we've got apartments above storefronts that are downstairs. What do you see in the next 10 or 15 years for Russellville that would help us continue the trend?
You know, and I've talked to all the mayors about this. One of the things that Russellville really struggles with, and I think probably most towns struggle with it, is their future. I remember when Conway was a little cowdunk town, I think Russellville has built the infrastructure to go more like Conway. I don't know if I really like all that, but all of it's there. It will change. Downtown will be its entity. Everybody loves to say, well, you know, I don't like to go downtown because there's no parking. I maintain we don't have a parking problem in Russellville, Arkansas. We have a walking problem. And they'll go park at the back side of Walmart's parking lot and walk to the back of Walmart and never fuss. And, you know, they've only walked a third of the distance, even they tried to go down and eat at Fat Daddy's in Russellville.
Sure.
I mean, so Russellville's going to change. I would like to see more residential. Was Americold just built something?
Yeah.
It's only going to hire like 100 people, so it's pretty automated. I think that you're going to compete from the automated standpoint, you know. Firestone's probably the oldest entity here. It was a city development. Only place I know in the United States making tubes, if I'm right.
I believe that's right.
And you know, and ConAgra, I think they're out of land. Their only choice is to go up.
Yeah, they built that place out.
Right, Tyson. There's a lot of freezer. I really see Russellville probably be more of a transportation hub. You know, it's got rail, it's got water. It's really got the river port's not all it should be, but there's probably some money to be spent there. I-40, you know, as 49 gets finished going down South Texarkana, I mean, that'd just be another route to Dallas. Um, I'd love to see something like an Amazon. I'd like to see some what I'll call upper wage stuff. I really don't think I want a steel mill, but I don't think I think I'd like a little more upper economic stuff to be, and all of that stuff's changing. I mean, the whole equation's changing.
Yeah, we had talked earlier about people looking to this area of the country. It's
Oh yeah,
it's cheap to live here compared to everywhere else, and I would assume it's cheap to build a factory here and employ people. And
well, somebody, and this just floored me. And my daughter had a friend that lived in New York and went and did a degree there, but this kid had 100 square foot apartment, and it was $1,200 a month. And I'm saying, how do you go do that? And all he wanted to be was an actor. I mean,
yeah, sure.
And then I hear on the other side of the story, kind of turns into a news guy that people are leaving New York, and they're leaving L.A.
They are.
They are. And that there has to be some place for them to live. All the guys I worked with at the nuclear plant, most nuclear plants aren't this close to a town. They're out stuck in the middle of nowhere,
Yeah.
And all they wanted was 5 acres, 10 acres out in the woods. Russellville's full of it. You can go ride 20 minutes, you can be sitting in the national forest.
That's one of the things that always surprise people is they've been decommissioning and closing down Indian Point. We've had a ton of people that have relocated here to go to work for Entergy and A&O, and every single one of them is surprised not only at what they can buy here for the money that they were spending in New York, but also just the amenities that are here. If they like to fish or hunt or go hiking or bicycling, the bicycle trails and stuff that the Walton Foundation has helped with on Mount Nebo, it's just an incredible opportunity for somebody who enjoys the outdoors.
Right.
We try to get them here in September, October, not so much August, but
Coming from New York, you melt in the summertime here. Yeah.
I had a guy I worked with at a simulator project, and he came from Vermont. Yeah, I think it's Vermont. And he came in the middle of the summer, and I met his wife, and she's just melting. It goes away. It's pretty much September 15th. You can plan on doing something better. I mean, it's too hot at the swimming pool.
Yeah.
It's like bath
You
water.
sweat in the water.
Yeah, I remember going to the ice plant and having a friend. He was going to have a birthday party, and he had a little swimming pool in the back. And we bought a truckload of ice to go put in the pool so the kids could swim.
Yeah. We were talking about your boat. You said you bought it in Chicago.
Yeah, I purchased it. I was
Which
in
one?
Chicago,
Well,
but it was in Melbourne.
Oh, it was
Florida.
already in Florida. Okay, because I
yeah.
was curious. Did you sail it through the Great Lakes
No.
and come down around?
That boat. All the time I owned it, it probably went 200 miles. It went up and down the international coast, ICW coast way. It didn't take me long to go figure out that wasn't my gig. I mean, everybody dreams of this adventure of going sailing, and this is kind of sad. I took the boat from Melbourne, and we went down the ICW, and you think this thing is wide. The Arkansas River is wide. I mean, it's literally a ditch. And you got your sonars and all of that stuff, and there's always somebody bigger than you going faster than you are. I mean, and they'll sink you. I mean, those big ocean-going boats, they throw waves. And they say, "Hey, Captain, I'm on your left." And hang on. It's 35-foot boats like the minnow on Gilligan's Island. And we went to Vero Beach and pulled up in a marina and tied up to a mooring, and we had a kayak, and that's how we went back and forth. And I did my first experience ever getting on a public bus, going to town, buying groceries, and bringing back a case of beer on a bus. I mean, I'm going, do people really do this? And you look around, and here's these other sailor dudes that are doing the same thing. They're carrying engine parts
On the bus.
on the bus. I mean, that's how you moved around. And I met some people on the water, And this one guy was really polite to me. You know, we talked a little bit, and he said, "Yeah, I can tell you how to live on a 100-watt solar power generator." He said, "I've been doing it for 40 years."
Really?
And but I mean, their life is the same thing. The total excitement to the people is they met somebody 3 years ago while they were sailing in the Bahamas, and they're coming over and having a glass of wine on their boat.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the highlight. And I'm not putting all this stuff, processing it together.
Yep.
And it's, you know, I'm going, is this really what I want to do? And I went, and this boat was big and heavy, and had the full sails up. And Don and I were sailing out in a pretty good sized bay. And I got back, and man, I was whipped. And I said, I'm going to do this by myself. Not. And, you know, the boat weighed 18,000 pounds. And when you hit the dock with 18,000 pounds, it's just kind of like you're the sledgehammer.
Yeah.
And things vibrate. And it was a pretty cool experience. I mean, I pretty much sold it as quick as I bought it. I mean, I had it a year and a half. And it was a hole in the water, which I poured money into. But it was a neat thing to go do.
Well, they say the 2 best days in a guy's life.
When you buy a boat and sell a boat.
Yeah.
And I've sold one too. So I've had like 6 or 8 days in my life, and I still have a boat. So yeah, I've got a 27-foot boat up on Greer's.
Really?
Yeah, and
Do you have one in Florida now?
no, I got rid of
Just
that
a
one.
condo.
Yeah, we just have a condo in Florida. That's Jenny's gig on Orange Beach down in Alabama, really.
All right, guys, thanks for joining us today on The Spotlight with Lathis Realty. Remember, you can check out all the episodes of The Spotlight by visiting our Facebook page, YouTube, or our website. You can always call us at 479-968-5668 or cruise on over to russellvilleliving.com. Nolan, this has been fun. I appreciate you coming by and visiting with us today. And always, join with Brad Neiman.
Thank you, Nolan.
Thank you much.